Welcome to I Game Around, the podcast that is still searching for a tagline. I said this in earlier episodes, but I'm going to keep saying it. My old tagline was, some niggas didn't like that name, but they could eat a dick. But that got too harsh, so I had to...
That sounds like angry.
Yeah, it sounds like I was mad. So I'm still searching for the tagline, but there is a story I want to share before I introduce my guests. Back when I was first starting the podcast, it was around July. I recorded my first episode, and I was scared to put it out. So there's a whole bunch of podcasts that I listened to, and one of them was a show by the name of Combat Jack. And they had a family episode, and usually I don't really listen to family episodes like that, but this one I was like, you know, man, let me listen to it. So they were talking, laughing. They were on, what's that, homemade vodka, what's it, Tito's, I believe.
Yes.
And some dude by the name of Funny Julius or something walked in.
Yes, Funny Julius, yep.
And he had a Connect 4 game. And then Combat was like, why do you have a Connect 4 game? And he was saying, oh, we're thinking about doing a podcast about gaming, and we want to game with fans and everything like that, or game with celebrities and ask some questions. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh, shit, it's still my idea. So so I put out my first episode the very next week. And I was like, it's because of that inspiration right there. It's just I just needed to hear that my idea was a good idea, you know. So if somebody, Loudspeakers Network, thought it was a good idea, then damn, I think it's a good idea. So I'm joined by one of the pioneers of that show, one of the pioneers of Loudspeakers Network itself. It's AKing.
Yo.
How you doing today, sir?
I'm blessed to be here, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was the first intro that was all about me. It had nothing to do with you.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
As you can see, today I'm playing lacrosse. I scored within the first 30 seconds because I'm a beast at this game.
Yo, I'm looking like I think I need to buy this. You know?
I love lacrosse.
It's fire.
This is a great game. But
yeah.
Back to you.
Yes, sir.
So I did want to go through your history. Obviously,
yes.
You are a podcaster of a podcaster. If anybody knows anything about podcasting, they know your name. So I did want to go into your background. I did want to go into your background as to how you got started. So where are you originally from?
Brooklyn, New York.
BK all day. No,
yes. No, you're right.
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot,
yeah.
Shit. All right.
The home of the greatest rapper of all time.
That's it.
Yeah, B.I.G.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Chicago. Oh, never mind. All right, keep going.
Oh, nah, come on. But shout out to him, you know. He's doing his thing, the youngin, you know.
Yeah, all right. Anyway.
Come on. We got, what Big said, spread love the Brooklyn way, you know?
All right, well, he's spreading a little too much. Anyway, keep going.
But, yeah, man, so Brooklyn, New York City. You know, I started out, initially I wanted to, started out doing radio in college.
Okay.
A friend of mine, my boy Rasheen, he was doing a radio show. And I had no idea, you know, that was even a thing, you know,
really?
On campus and stuff.
What were you doing at that time?
Goofing around in college, just like, you know, trying to pass these classes.
Gotcha.
And, you're super young, trying to figure shit out. So he's like, yo, I do this show on Fridays. So I was like, where? He's like, yeah, just pull up. I was like, all right. So I came through and I started just meddling in all the production and, you know, and I took a liking to it. And I would come back the next week, and then it became like a hangout, you know. Then I, at some point, started producing the show, and then I became a co-host, and then kind of took over, you know, the following year.
You took over somebody else's show.
When I say that, I don't mean I didn't take over the show. We
all right,
we
I'm going to have to relieve you of your duties, man. I think I can handle it.
No, it was a joint thing. It was like, you know, and I became a presence.
Okay,
you know?
Gotcha.
And then we did that, and
what was the show about?
Hip hop. It was like I guess you could say we patterned ourselves after Stretch and Bob.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Gotcha,
like we just like pure hip, like essential hip hop, and just shooting the shit. You know, we would talk about her having a herpes scare, and you know, just like random conversations. You know what I mean? And it was dope. And you know, at post college, you know, I was like, all right, you start applying for different jobs, and try to, you know, go toward that path. So I would apply for like Hot 97 and Power 105, and I wouldn't get anything. Like no one would holler back. I'm like, damn. So I didn't know that the business was all about relationships at the time. I just thought, hey, I'm worthy of it.
Yeah.
I'm ready. You know what I mean? But it's more to that, right? So then I would go like on Craigslist. Went on Craigslist one day, and I typed in radio or whatever, right? And PNC Radio popped up. They were looking for talent to do these shows, internet radio, what have you. It was located Dumbo, Brooklyn, which is right by the bridge.
Dumbo, Brooklyn.
Yeah, down under the Manhattan. What is it called? Down under Manhattan, Brooklyn overpass. I think that's what Dumbo stands for. Anyway, so I go there. Now I reached out to them, sent my resume. They were like, "Hey, come in for an interview." I was like, "All right, cool." Went to the interview. First, I thought it was some bullshit because I was like, in Brooklyn, there's some kind of like media house.
Right.
Excuse me. And I go there. Interview went well. Facility is dope. So I'm like, oh, this might be a thing. So I started doing the show. We pre-recorded on a Sunday. We do 5 episodes. And we program those episodes to be released Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, makes sense.
Right. So we was like, it was slave work, bro. But it was fun. At some point, I was like, all right, I got to start networking. And,
so wait, just to make sure I understand this correctly, you did 5 shows in one night.
Yeah.
How long were each show?
Each show was 2 hours, but because of internet radio, we programmed it with music. So it wasn't a hard 2 hours of talk time. It was just we had to make a 2-hour show.
Around the music.
Right.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So we did that, and I would just go out to all the events and shake hands and trying to get these guests. And they kind of saw the type of talent that I was bringing in. It was like, man, why don't you help us build and expand this company? I was like, all right. So they asked me to be program director. And
wait, so how long between you actually getting the interview, getting the job, and then becoming the program director?
That's less than a year. It might have been like 6 to 8 months.
Damn.
Because it was more of a fluid thing, and it was a startup company, so it wasn't like they've been around and they're trying to. So it was like very transparent in that regard. But I was like, yeah, let's do it. I had a day job at the same time, so I wasn't getting paid doing it, but I felt like it was an opportunity, for something bigger.
What was the day job?
I used to work for a medical malpractice insurance company.
Damn, that sounds boring.
It was cool.
It paid the bills.
Yeah. It was. It is what it is.
Just in case you got to go back, you can't shit on it. I got you.
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully I won't ever have to go back to that. But yeah. So I was doing that, and they asked me to build a brand. I said, yeah, let's do it. So they gave me the title of program director. Again, I wasn't getting paid, but like I said, it was
the opportunity
to get to another point.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I'm like, man, I gotta bring in. It's not about the guests for the show. I kind of put that aside. I still was doing it, but now I'm like, yo, who? I don't know who. And that's when I start studying the program directors of the past. I forget her name. Hot 97. It'll come back. But I start studying the greats, and I'm like, man, what would I do if I was in their shoes? Social media was out. It was a thing, right? So Twitter was popping,
right?
And I would go on Twitter and just start seeing who was active from New York City.
Really?
Yeah, I was really like following and engaging and kind of seeing the scene on social media, and I would reach out to cats, So reach out to a whole bunch of people. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tanya Morgan.
Tanya Morgan.
They're a rap group from Cincinnati, but they live in Brooklyn. They was doing a podcast at the time called Legendary Radio. So I had reached out to them, and then I would go to these events and I would see Dallas Penn. I see him. He was doing the Internet Celebrities.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And anytime you go to YouTube, it would pop up. It would be the homepage, and I'm like, yo, this kid right here is he's dope. But I would see him at events, and I was like, oh, he's from New York. Oh, good. So I seen, I think it was a Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival at the time. And I saw him, and I said, yo, man, I want to holler at you. Mind if I get your number? I want to pitch something to you. So initially, we would play phone tag and what have you. Now we'll see him again, and then it'd be the whole. Dallas is very elusive in that regard. So it took a lot for me to actually sit with him.
Okay.
So once I finally was able to sit with him, I said, yo, man, we building this station. I think you'd be great for it. You know, if you had your own platform, aside from what you do on the visual side.
Right.
So he's like, word, all right. He's like, well, let's link up again. Let's talk. I want to bring my man Reggie with me, though. All right, bring him. That's your brother, like, you know.
Right. I don't know.
So we met up. All you know, it was me, the owner of PNC at the time, and well, not at the time, period, and Dallas Penn and Reggie, who you know as Combat Jack.
Correct.
Not at that point though.
Right. He's just over.
So he was just starting a blog called Daily Mathematics, where he was sharing these stories under the name Combat Jack.
Okay.
Apparently, the industry didn't make that correlation
of who he was,
of that Reggie Osei in Combat. So at some point, as his celebrity status started to increase by sharing these stories and started going viral, so to speak, and what have you, and it was learned that was that guy. It was like, wow, okay. So a whole year, we're still trying to figure out what we're gonna do. Like I mentioned to you off, you know, before we started, we all had day jobs. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking like big picture shit. I'm like, yeah, we gotta do a morning show. I'm trying to use the structure of terrestrial, but we didn't have no money to pay people, so that wasn't realistic, right? So we still maintained a relationship. A year went by, and Combat in Dallas came to me with an idea to do a Bring Your Own Blogger barbecue, highlighting all of the people that was on that were successful in the digital space. Gotcha. So we did this big barbecue in our facility, 450 people. We only supposed to have 100 people max.
Wow.
Free food, libations. It was amazing. We had all of the, if you remember, Two Dope Boys and Nah Right and Miss Info and On Smash. We had all these people in the room.
But why?
Just to salute them.
Really?
Yeah, and I kind of think it was more Combat and Dallas's way of fast tracking, because they had the relationships.
Oh, okay.
Because they were cool with them in their spaces, their writing spaces, but no one was together ever. Because a lot of cats was in other states, or they just not public. But we had them all in one. Karen Civil, before she was Karen Civil, all these people, all these dope visionaries was in the same spot. You know, eating and drinking and having a good time. And that's when it was like, wow, these dudes are celebrities, man, you know? So during that time, I had reached out to Star. Shout out to Star. We did a, and I'm bouncing all over the place, but I'll tie everything in together.
It's your show, man. Take your time.
So reached out to Star. Well, actually, no. DX21, who was a member of the Star and Buck Wild show.
Okay. He
was at an event we had at the station. And I was like, oh shit, that's DX21. So I hollered at him. I was like, yeah, what's Star doing lately? He wasn't on radio anymore.
Oh, so yeah, already left Hot 97?
He left Power. He was already gone for Power. That was already gone. So I said, what's he doing? You know? So he's like, I got you. He's like, give me your number. So that was a Thursday. Saturday morning, I get a text from Star. What's up, nigga? You looking for me? I said, oh shit, it's Star. Like, what? You know, I'm on my fan bro shit. Mm-hmm. And I told him, hey man, you know, building this station, and you know, I'm just trying to see, might be a fit. So he's all right, I'll come by next week. So he came through. He was in love with what was going on, and he agreed to, let's try to work out a deal or something. So we was trying to get some money from one of the beverages out there. I think it was a Amp energy drink. I think it was.
Yeah.
But the agency that was facilitating the deal, it fell through. And at the time, Combat was doing the legal work for it. Right?
Damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. So he was doing the legal work, and then it didn't go through. And I don't know what the time period between that, but at some point, Combat was like, yo, you know what? Let's do the show. So he came back to me. He was like, yo, I got the house approval to do it. You know, let's rock out. But I'm like, all right, cool. Y'all do that. Y'all in, whatever. I was still doing my show. He's like, yo, you got to be a part of it. And I'm like, dude, I'm doing my own shit. I can't do that. Again, it was like, as much as I wanted them to be on board, I didn't know what it was, right?
Right, yeah.
It's just human, you know? So we started out, it was midnight to 2 p.m. No, midnight to 2 a.m., sorry. That was the time slot on a Thursday night, I believe.
Wow.
So we would record the show 12 midnight to 2 in the morning, but we wouldn't leave till like 4. And we all had day jobs. Well, Dallas and I had day jobs. And, yeah, we rocked out. We started doing it, and we expanded the team at the time. You know, Premier Pete came on board, Matt Raz, DJ Ben Amin. And then we was having fun with it.
So what was the point of, I mean, like, if you're going midnight to 2 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And then you're probably hanging out a little bit afterwards, even though you know you got to get up at 7 a.m. to go to work or whatever. What was the driving force behind all that? Like, when you don't see anything happening, why keep doing it?
Well, because it was fun. It's a synergy. It's a brotherhood, so to speak, not to be cliche.
Right.
But that's what happens, especially, you know, you got alcohol, you have, you know, everybody's chilling, and then the PNC space, you never been there, but it was a hub, and it was an important factor for the internet age in New York City, because everybody, once it became a thing, people would come into New York, and they would come to either our parties, or they were trying to do content, or they might have rented out the space to do photo shoots and video shoots.
Oh, wow.
So it was a hub, a multi-purpose hub, and once you walked in there, something was happening. A relationship. We had a deck overlooking the East River.
Damn.
It was dope. You know what I mean? So imagine midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning. It's just us in the spot.
Hanging out.
What up? You know what I mean? You know, and that's what it was. You know, for 2 years.
Okay.
After year 1, we had Just Blaze on the show. He saw again, going back to your question, right? He saw the vibe and what's going on. Busy, Just Blaze.
Right.
Said, yo, I want to be down with this shit. Like, this shit is my speed. This is fun as fuck.
Damn.
And Just Blaze eventually became part of the show. You know, Just Blaze.
Just
Blaze. While he's cranking out records for Beyonce or
Drake,
whoever. You know what I mean?
Lord knows, one of the best pieces.
Lord knows, it's so.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
So to your point, to your question, it's the synergy. It was the ambiance, the camaraderie that, you know, we didn't want to leave each other. Pause. And
so how'd you guys move on to Complex?
Oh, it's Complex seeing the vision. They was like, yo, y'all are rocking out. What's up? You know, and they had TV ambitions. You know, they wanted to do a lot of digital TV stuff. So they had like the Combat Jack show. They built out a studio set, kind of like a late night show.
Right.
Like the whole setup.
Got
from
the
a
Combat
storefront.
Jack logo in the middle. Yeah.
And it was from a storefront in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Oh,
They gutted it out, and they did all of that stuff you see in the video, and they created a set for us, and we did the show in video form. You know, we did 1 season.
What happened? Oh, okay.
I mean, how can I say? It's like, it just didn't work out. I wish it would have. I wish we were trying to do season 2. They wanted. I think everybody wanted to do season 2, but there was probably a few demands that needed to be met for that to happen.
Oh, okay. So you just had creative differences, pretty much.
Not creative, but yeah. Actually, yes. That's it. Creative. Yeah. We'll leave it.
I'm trying to save you, my
brother.
brother.
Shout out the Complex, but yes. So, but it was dope because it had DJ Samero had a show.
Right.
Peter Rosenberg, Clark Kent. So they were trying to build and establish, you know, the digital TV aspect.
Yeah, cool.
Which you kind of see now with them,
Right.
with the everyday struggle and some of the other stuff they're doing.
Yeah, I think, was it going shopping or sneaker shopping with that kind of stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened after Complex?
Nothing. I mean, we was still doing the podcast. That was just a bonus. That was just something else we were doing. When we were doing the Complex stuff, we still had to do the podcast because remember the Complex show, they broke it down into I guess 5 to 7 minute video clips. Part 1, part 2, part 3. it wasn't full.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we still had to do our shit. You know. So we was like double working.
Damn.
So but yeah, we did one season, which was about 13 to 15 episodes. And then we just continued doing what we do.
And that's it.
Yeah, and then we converted to a podcast during that time from internet radio through our transition. And then, thanks to Chris Morrow, him being aware that we were looking for a new location because the spot we were at PNC was going through renovations at the time. And he was like, hey, man, I got a spot where y'all can record, but you got to be low, after corporate hours type shit. And
sneaking in.
And that was our first taste too, like in terms of like the closest thing to being on terrestrial. Not that was ever the goal,
right?
But just in terms of the vibe. And
so, were you starting to see money at this point once Chris kind of jumped in and let you use the space, or were you seeing it beforehand?
No, what happened? We see like outside money in terms of being hired to do hostings or whatever, But at that point, no. Because we weren't a network. What happened was, we would have like Charlamagne on the show, and pitch him, hey, you need to do your podcast. They had Kid Fury with, he was popping on YouTube at the time. Kind of threw out the idea, hey, you need to do,
a podcast.
So it was like, hey, got to a point where Chris and Combat sat down, was like, yo, we got to start producing this stuff, and we got to create a company, and that was the birth of Loudspeakers Network.
So who came up with the name?
It was a collective thing. If you remember early episodes of the Combat Jack Show, once we were in that transition, we put out on the episodes like, hey, we got this idea. We want we want the internet to give us some names that we could, and we would kind of shoot off names. And I got to find that episode because it was the wildest. Like I always think about, what if we choose one of the other suspect names that was, it was crazy. But yeah, it was a collective thing. It was like elimination process. But it was some wild names, bro. Like ridiculous names. But yeah.
Sorry, I was just thinking like the names that it could have been, and y'all have been stuck with them.
I gotta when I find the episode, man, I'm gonna.
And the Booty Networks or something crazy.
It was like intergalactic. What was it? The Connected Networks, the Interconnected Network. It was a lot going on, man. A lot.
All right, so I do want to move on to the interviews aspects that you've been doing.
Yeah.
Were there any interviews that you were nervous to where you couldn't speak during the interview or anything like that? Did anybody have you kind of like, damn, this is really him live and living color? Or her, excuse me, I don't want to be misogynistic.
Yeah, please, cause
yeah, me too.
Adding your report abuse. Good question.
I'm pretty good at my job.
I want to say Ice Cube.
Really?
It's like, dude, this is Ice Cube. Like when you're locking down the guests is one thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's gonna happen. We got the date, time, boom. But when they're in your face, you're like, yo, is this real? There's certain people that give you that effect. Yeah. Like, dude, Compton, straight out of Compton, like just chilling. You know what I mean? So Ice Cube was one. David Banner. More so because Banner's an interesting dude, man. He has a wealth of knowledge and information, and it's just he wasn't a guest for me. He was like talking to your big brother,
right? Yeah,
you know what I mean, and you listen,
especially now.
What
he's been doing. Yeah, I remember hearing your last episode, and he was saying about how Combat wanted to go on vacation, and David was like, yo, I'll do the podcast, I'll fill in for you, I ain't got a problem with that. And I remember thinking, damn, David playing podcast, that might work. But it was dope just to hear him and talk about black people's plight and what we're going through, because
and even dealing with he was talking about depression and self-medicating and some of the stuff, the sexual addictions that he's had.
Oh, that Hennessy issue that he had was crazy, right? I was like, what?
and at that point, it's like, yo, so our format in the show internally, we prepare for our guests. And that was one of the things that separated us from a lot of other podcasts. Mm-hmm. Like, we really prepare and research, not just some bullshit. Like, as fans, as as the excitement for these guests. Yeah, David walked in the room. We got to doing the show, and it got to a point where we threw them shits in the garbage. Like, yo, this is different. This is a different episode, and we just let it go. But yeah, David. I'm trying to think who else, man.
Was there any interviews at
Jermaine Dupri?
Oh, really, JD?
Yes.
Okay.
We did that live in
Atlanta, right?
For the A3C festival. Well, no, that was outside of the A3C festival. My bad. Oops. But shout out to the A3C festival. But yeah, Jermaine Dupri.
One of my favorite ones, the live ones that you did was Mike Will Made It. Like, I didn't know his story at all, but I really enjoyed that episode.
And you know what's interesting? I've had countless conversations with some of my peers, and they were like, well, he doesn't talk. I'm like, but this is the Combat Jack show. Like, you're going to talk. Like, we're going to make you talk because you're going to feel comfortable.
Right.
And that was one of the best ones we did last year.
Yeah, that was
2017.
dope.
And it was live, too, L.A. Shout out to L.A. Yeah, Mike Will was dope. Shit.
All right. Well, I don't need you to
it's
keep
so
on.
many.
Yeah,
it's so many. It's so many. I would say, I don't know if intimidation or the starstruck. I think it's more who I was ultra fan, my fanism. You know what I mean?
Gotcha, yeah.
Fonte. That was another episode that sticks out. That was a good one.
Yeah, like I always thought, like when I started my podcast, and even to this day, I'm like, there's certain people that I don't know if I could interview them. Like for me, it was like Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown, he's like the epitome of my childhood, if you will. Like he's the one that taught me how to sweet talk a woman. So to sit down with him and talk about Roni and talk about his Don't Be Cruel album, I'd probably just be like, yo, I need somebody to step in. I don't know what to do.
That's a 3-hour episode.
Yeah, I'd hope so. That's cameras burning out, lights going down, people trying to go home. I'm gonna talk to him until he's trying to leave. But anyway, I do want to move into. I think it was like a year ago. I want to say I think it was you and Jonathan Mena that was hosting a podcast class. I think y'all were doing like a live stream or something like that, where you were gonna teach people, kind of how to get it started in the podcast business.
I think we did one for Microsoft. We did like a panel.
I think so, something like that.
And then I did a webisode.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think this was last summer. I did that.
Okay, well, we're doing it on my show. Is what I'm trying to get to.
So let's get to it. That was pretty dope. That was my first time doing such a thing, and it was great feedback.
All right, cool. I hope this is at least good feedback. So, when you're starting out a podcast and then you're trying to think of what should my podcast be about, what do you think somebody should look for when they're starting a podcast? Like, what should they talk about?
Okay, so I've learned that the podcast community, the people who listen to podcasts, they listen to relatable content.
Right.
I think in our culture, meaning urban, we get caught up in, oh, I can do that. I'm gonna talk about pop culture. But my perspective is, what can you contribute to that conversation that all these other outlets are already 24/7?
Yeah.
Whether it's TV, whether it's social media, all these different, they got it covered. You can't. It's just everybody can't give hot takes on things.
Right.
So I say, have a message, keep it niche, and stick to that.
That's how you say that word, niche.
Niche.
Okay, yeah. I remember when I was first starting out, they like I used to read. Like I started reading about podcasts, but I was listening to them, but I wanted to learn more on how to get myself further into this game. So they're always saying niche down, or I always thought it was niche, but
I mean,
anyway, it doesn't matter.
I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Just whoever.
But they were saying niche down until you get to the point where whatever topic that you're talking about, it like the back of your hand, and then that's how your podcast is going to stand out for everybody else's.
Right.
So after you niche down, after you figure out, okay, this is what I want to do, but I want to now try to book guests, or I want to get guests on my podcast, or I want to even go on other people's podcasts. Like, how do you kind of maneuver your way into getting guests on your podcast and trying to jump on everybody else's?
Relationships. Part of this, you have to build relationships. You're doing a podcast. You're providing a service of content, and I mean, if your show is guest oriented or where you have, it's taking a shot. Whether it be Instagram or if you have a relationship with these publicists or managers, I just shoot them the description of the podcast. Say, hey, I know you're going to be in town, or whenever you're in New York or wherever you're at.
Right.
I'd love to have you as a guest. They might ask you for some more information if they're not aware of it. And simple. I did that a few times, even as I thought the show was. Well, yeah. Fortunately, Mark Lamar Hill, didn't have his contact and didn't have an end to him. I went on his I went on his website, and it had the form. And I'm like, here we go with this form shit. And I was like, ain't nobody gonna holler back. Yeah. And sure enough, he hollered back. Really? So I guess it's connected, And those are rare instances where, for him to have it connected to his Gmail and be up on it like that, a lot of them don't.
That's what I thought.
They don't do that.
When I see the form, I'm like, it's a form. You ain't even gonna read this shit. So
yeah, he reached back immediately. He's like, I'm such a fan. He's like, when? I'll be in New York. I'm like, what? So now I'm hyped. You know what I mean?
Right.
Same thing with Angela Rye.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
The form.
Damn.
And now she's part of the network. Shout out to Angela Rye.
Shout out to her. She's single.
That was one of the intimidating ones.
Angela?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Because you see her on CNN, right?
She's strong.
Not because you fear. You just like, I just saw her ether somebody on fucking CNN, and she's here. Like that element. But yeah, I hit her up on the forum.
Got you. So I was having a conversation with somebody that I interviewed before off air, and we were talking about staying independent versus joining a network. It was more so if you're independent, you kind of get to control your own content. You don't have to interview people you don't want to interview. You don't have to answer to anybody. You make your own money. Mm-hmm. But going to a network, you have advertising dollars. They're able to book guests for you. They're able to kind of put you on and put you in a more of a bigger light than you might not necessarily be able to do for yourself.
Yeah.
So for you, what do you think? Do you think you should go the independent route? Do you think you should kind of join a network? How do you see somebody starting out?
It all depends. I mean, for us, we don't control the creativity of any of the shows.
Oh, okay.
No, the shows are pretty much. I mean, we do provide. We might give suggestions or what have you. But that's the good thing about it is we bring on these shows because we're fans of the potential of what it could be. Mm-hmm. But we can't, if we tamper with the creativity aspect of it, it's not going to be what we, expect. So we don't have no issue there. As far as to your question, it all depends on who. Some people need structure. Some people need the extra hand holding. The network does provide resources, but there's benchmarks, that we don't set. The industry sets, in terms of monetizing.
Right.
That's out of our control. But if we can facilitate, it's twofold. You have to do the work, and we'll do the work too.
Right.
And we'll meet in the middle
together
and break bread, right?
Yeah.
But it's never a lot of the misconception is, I want to get down with loudspeakers because of what they perceive, from a financial standpoint, I guess.
Right.
And we're very accessible. You can see anybody from any one of us out here.
LSN.
So they probably measuring up things like, where are they? Whatever. You know how it goes in this culture. And but I always tell them it's you coming on loudspeaker is not a guarantee that this has to be a concerted effort, to get to that point. And that's why if you look at all the shows, there's no show that's one and the same. They're all diverse.
That's one thing I didn't notice about your network. I mean, you got Getting Grown, The Read, Brilliant Idiots, Casey Crew, DJ Envy has another one that he just started, yes. Right? Yep. And then Angela Yee's Lip Service.
Combat Jack Show,
Everybody.
So, and all of these people have their own voices.
Right, and that's why I was applauding y'all because I always thought obviously to me, and could just be me, but I think when you're a podcaster and you're familiar with the Loudspeaker Network, you think of it as like the ABC, like television, network ABC, how big it is. You think of loudspeakers is the same way.
Def Jam.
Yeah, exactly.
It's as Combat would say, rest in peace. Loudspeakers is LSN is the Def Jam of podcasting.
It is because you got so much diversity.
Yeah, you got Rihanna over here. You got Jay-Z. You got Redman. You got all these different.
Everybody, just a whole bunch of different people. But it seems like the network is able to spot talent. So if somebody's coming to you and is like, yo, I got this idea about a podcast, I want to talk about food, I want to talk about eating and everything like that. Can you put me on? Like, how can I be put on with LSN?
I tell them, make a pitch, put it together. See, another thing is we want to see you do the work too. You just can't, because we'll take the idea and that's, we never did that. But I'm saying, no, I had to make that clear. No. Anybody could take an idea. Right. If you're not gonna, just like you mentioned off air about the episode, was that on air?
I don't remember.
Episode with the Connect 4 thing or whatever.
Oh yeah, that
right.
Was on there.
So it's like, yeah, if somebody else heard, I mean, he didn't do it.
So
it's out there. Like you have a window of time once you put it out in the universe. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it works. But unfortunately, we've never done that. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, don't flush out the idea. Like, sell us so we could get excited about it and put legs behind it. You know what I mean? But don't just say, oh, I got this idea. I want to come in and make your work harder.
Right. I want you to build me.
No, we're not. We'll guide you, but you got to come to the table with it. You know what I mean?
I've always told people that I only help people that are already helping themselves. I can't help you if you're still at the starting point.
But see, it goes back to what you said before, right? Like, if they did come to the table like that, all that's going to happen is we're going to dictate how we think it should be.
Right, because they don't have the vision.
So what's the point of even? We could, like I said, not saying that we do that, but I'm just saying hypothetically, you can take a concept and say, you know what, you're not doing the work. I'm gonna flush this out and just hold it or whatever. You know what I mean? Pitch it for something else or whatever the case may be. So I always say, make a pitch. I don't care who it is. I've had. Cats. One of the podcasts I'm working on is they're not on the network. We're trying to work something out with them now. Is the Cryptology podcast, and they're dealing with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, digital currency, which I wasn't abreast to.
Oh, okay,
you see it in the news. You see it. Bitcoin. I can't get none of this shit. That's false. That's fake. That's fake news, right?
Right. So
when a gentleman, Elgin.com, which I've already known for a few years, when he came to me with the idea, I was like, well, I don't know how I can embrace it because I don't know nothing about it. So then he would start schooling me, and then I would do my own research, and it would be in line with everything that he
has been saying,
all the tools that he's presented to me, and I'm like, wow, this is a thing. So now
you've been making some money.
So now, it's cool to participate in new concepts,
right?
But I couldn't have embraced doing that podcast if I didn't know nothing about it.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, all right. And now they're on their 8th episode, and they're making so much strides, man. So shout out to them. But again, it goes back to the concept. Like, hey, this is what we want to do. We feel like the culture, at least on our side, are not educated as it should be. Listening to voices on news outlets, and they're using that to dictate, the temperature, and that's not how it should be. You got to be in it
to know.
You can't just be looking at the silent. Oh, it dipped. Well, how much how did it affect your pockets? Right. Oh, well, I ain't. Well, then you can't have a conversation about it.
Damn.
So the whole thing is to educate these people or us, our culture, about digital currency, which is the future and the present.
That's what it sounds like. That's the
accept it.
That's a new way to watch your money, but that's a whole nother.
Hey, don't be.
I learned about that when I was doing some illegal endeavors a couple years ago. But anyway,
allegedly.
Thank you. It's all alleged around here. So
we do it for clicks.
There you go. All for the views.
Yep.
Speaking of which, so if somebody comes to your network and they say, "Look, right now I don't have a lot of views, but I think my quality and my content is dope.
Yeah.
Can I make a pitch?" With that, do numbers matter to your network?
It matters. It matters because it's twofold, right? It matters because we know the expectation to monetize it,
right,
is based on something, and if you don't have the numbers, period, which this part we don't control, you won't get
any kind of money. Because
from an advertising perspective, they don't care how connected you are with the culture. They don't care how many people you retweeted your shit. They just want to know, do you have a building audience? Weekly, what is that? How can we integrate our products into whatever number that they're looking for. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's really what it boils down to.
Okay.
But not to put too much pressure, and that's where the original content comes into play. Content is key, and the cream will rise always to the top. Period. Right. If you got a unique and niche idea, it'll always win. You just got to give it time and be patient.
There you go. You got to wait it out
and build your audience. Engage. I can't stress that enough. Like no one likes cats or podcasts or content that you don't connect with the host or the entity, but they're just dropping links to the content.
Right.
They're like a robot, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know who this is.
Trying to talk to somebody through a door.
You gotta engage.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So on average, how, to the best of your knowledge, obviously you can't give an exact coin amount, but on average, how much should a podcaster expect to make if he's bringing in, a couple thousand views a week?
Well, see, another part, the other part I'm looking at this game is so dope. I wish you had controllers and shit.
You get your ass murked.
No. Probably. But what you call it? You can also make money outside of the traditional advertising formulas. Like you can, and this is where relationships come into play. If you know a brand, an up and coming startup, or what have you, that you can leverage, your content with. Providing a platform for them to promote their product, then you can set the table in that regard. So that's limitless,
right?
But just in the traditional scope of the formulas, I can't put a number out on it, but you can. It just matter how big and small the company is.
Okay, gotcha.
If your numbers are low but you have a good idea and you want to just like kind of fast track it, develop a relationship with these startups. They're willing to spend money and take more of a risk than if established brand would.
Okay, gotcha.
The established brand is going to want to see numbers. They want to see metrics. How long is these listeners listening to listening to the podcast and so on and so forth.
Right, but if you're independent, then you probably should reach out to one of these smaller little.
Absolutely.
Like, cause Ed Lover, I love Come On Son. That's one of my favorite podcasts.
What up, Ed?
He does the Nissan for Atlanta, or I don't know if it's in Atlanta, but one of his sponsors is a local dealership. So, even though he's on LSN, but
no, but that's all him. That's and that's what I'm saying. He's not too big. Pause of a. And I just do that because I know people are listening like, oh, we play the pause game still. Grown ass man. But, he's established regardless. He's not big enough he's not too big where he can't go to the local guy either. That's a bag. You know what I mean? Regardless. First of all, it's Ed Lover, OG legend. You know what I'm saying? So it's an easy conversation for him.
Okay.
He's not like, oh, yeah, well, I'm only going for... XYZ that's been around for 20 years. He's like, nah, you got it? Let's go. I'm Ed Lover.
We can make it work.
But fortunately for him, he has that cachet to do that. But he's, like I said, it's not beneath him to do something like that.
Okay. Shout out to Ed Lover.
Yes.
So normally
what up, Krista?
I don't know. Oh, that's
his producer.
Yeah. I did know that. Yeah. So normally the way I end the show with guests is I usually ask them.
We're just getting started. I thought we were.
No, I got shit to do tonight. I ain't got nothing to do. Anyway, so normally the way I do end it is I ask you if somebody. I'm not even gonna ask you that because you're gonna want to answer that question. In remembrance of Combat Jack.
Yeah.
Top 5 dead or alive.
Ooh. No
particular order?
No particular period, nothing like that?
No, top 5.
Cool, let's do this. And no order, right?
No order.
Let's do this. Nasir Jones. Notorious B.I.G. This week is tricky.
There's no order.
Big Pun. Tupac Shakur. That's 4.
That's 4. One more.
And I got one more, right? Damn, this one is and I'm gonna say this because I'm just going off of albums that I listen to religiously. Even though he's more of a producer, I gotta have him in my top 5 because the impact. You know, there's no way like he is. If he put out a, oh wait, you know what? Damn.
You can't get this long list and then try to pick somebody else.
All right, I won't put him in there, but I have him on the outside as a top producer of all time.
6 man.
But my number 5, Jay Electronica.
Really?
Yes.
Ah, that's crazy. I only heard what Exhibit B.
Debate me.
I don't know anything about Jay Electronica at all.
Exhibit C, Exhibit A, and yeah, that's pretty much. Goes to Christopher Wallace. It's just, you know what it is? He's one of those artists that his talent is like ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame that we haven't heard an album from him yet.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure he's getting tired of hearing that. But he has to give us an album, please. Please. Jay Electronica, let's do this.
If you're listening to a random podcast, Jay. All right, AKing, well, I appreciate you joining my show.
Yes. This
has been another episode of I Game Around.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Hope I could do part 2 at some point.
I'm hoping too, man. You showed up late. Like, damn, I was eating that when you showed up.
Damn,
I gave up on you.
Yo, internets, if y'all knew where I had to drive to get to do this podcast, nah, I'm just joking.
We in Harlem, baby. Anyway, we out.
Salute.